Hello everybody, and welcome back to another weekly recap. I know it's been quite a while since I've said those words because there hasn't really been much in the way of updates for Oldschool Runescape. However, this week we finally did get a content update, and that is the Shooting Stars update. So we're going to be talking a little bit about that, some changes from poll number 74, a new concept for a clan hall. Also, in a few hours, we have the JMods Q&A, which is going to be interesting, as well as I'll be going over anything else interesting in the Oldschool Runescape community this week. Anyway guys, let's get started. Now to start us off here, we have the Shooting Stars update. Now this is something that was pulled right from RS2, from one of the original distractions and diversions. I have really fond memories of this update, so I'm actually pretty excited that it's coming to Oldschool. Now the concept behind a shooting star is pretty simple. At random periods throughout the day, a shooting star will fall to a predetermined set of locations. Once it is on the ground, any amount of people are able to mine it at once until it is fully depleted. Now you are able to find them randomly if you're lucky. However, if you want to find them more predictably, you can install a telescope into your POH. Now on release day there was a bug with the telescope, however they did end up fixing that. Now there are 3 levels of telescope. There are an oak telescope, a teak telescope, and a mahogany telescope. As you get up to the higher levels, you'll have more accurate information on where the next star will land. Now, especially right now, shooting stars are incredibly competitive. The way it ended up working back in RS2 is clan chats were made specifically for shooting stars, so you could join the clan chat and they would be shouting out where the current star is located. However, on release day, and I expect for maybe the next week or two, shooting stars are so packed that everyone is pretty much using the telescope to find it, and if you are just waiting for someone to call it out in the clan chat, you're probably going to get there almost too late. Now once the shooting star lands, it has 9 different tiers to it. It will start with a mining level requirement of 90, and after all of the available dust is mined at that level, it'll drop now to tier 8, which has a requirement of 80 mining. It'll keep dropping down through the levels until you get down to the smallest, and then eventually the entire star will disappear. Now the rewards for mining the stars are both experience and stardust. Now because this is kind of set up to be something you would do occasionally, XP per hours here are going to be a little bit hard to calculate, especially during the first couple of days. Once you're able to efficiently track down shooting stars and there isn't so much competition, maybe we'll be able to figure out an accurate XP per hour from mining. Now the stardust that you get from mining the shooting stars can be used to buy a few different rewards, the main one being the Celestial Ring. Now the Celestial Ring is going to be a new piece of mining equipment that will give you a +4 boost whenever it's worn. You are also able to charge it with stardust. When the ring is charged, you will get a 1 in 10 chance of getting a double ore drop whenever you are mining. Now unlike the diaries, this will actually give you extra experience as well when you're using it. You are also able to combine it with the Elven Signet, so you can get the bonuses of both of them. Now because stardust seems like it's a bit of a pain to obtain, I think probably the Celestial Ring will be mostly used on higher tier ores like Runite for example, which will effectively boost the GP per hour for mining Runite by about 10%. Now on top of that, you're also able to purchase a Star Fragment, which is essentially just a recolor of the Prospector outfit. And to kind of round off the shop, you're also able to purchase bagfuls of gems and soft clay packs. Now beyond the Shooting Stars update, today we also got a few other minor changes. First up here we have the Bolt Pouch update. Kind of interesting. I mean, I've only ever used the Bolt Pouch once, and that was to make a video on obscure items. Now the Bolt Pouch has received a huge overhaul and a huge quality of life change. Now beyond the very dated interface of the old Bolt Pouch, one of the biggest issues was that if you died with bolts in the Bolt Pouch, you wouldn't keep them on death. However, that has been changed today to be similar to the Rune Pouch. So now if you do die with a Bolt Pouch equipped, all of the contents will go right into your gravestone, which means you won't lose them immediately. Now beyond that, they've also made it a lot cleaner to put bolts into the pouch, to equip them and stuff like that. So I'm kind of excited to give it a try, although I'm still not really sure where this will actually be useful, but a good change anyway. Now we have a few more changes from poll number 74. I mean, when was that poll? That must have been a couple months ago at this point. Now first up here, a few monsters have now been tagged as demons. We have Bloodvelds, Ice Fiends, Imps, Water Fiends, Pyre Fiends, Pyre Lords, Porazdir. I had no clue what that is. Now I do believe this is probably for the upcoming Arceus spell rework, which has a few spells that specifically target demons. Now another really interesting but small change is you now have a chance of receiving a bird nest with an egg in it whenever you are emptying birdhouses. So the chicken outfit maybe is going to be a little bit more common now. The Thermonuclear Smoke Devil now has a reduced chance of dropping tinder boxes, bullseye lanterns, pure essence, and kebabs. So they have reduced the chance of getting the troll drops, so maybe the GP per hour is going to be a bit better now. And on top of that, they've also added in a new tertiary drop called the Jar of Smoke. Now this next change is kind of random. I don't think anyone ever asked for it, but you can now make dark flippers by combining a dark claw from Skatizo and flippers. Sure, why not? Alright, so this week there was actually a few changes to the Corporeal Beast. Now, similar to the Smoke Devil, it also ended up receiving a new jar drop called the Jar of Spirits, which I imagine is going to be probably pretty rare. But there were actually some changes to the actual encounter itself. Now, if you are in a group of 8 or more, the Corporeal Beast will now have additional health regen to make it a little bit more challenging. Now, another very small change that is very impactful for Ironman players is that the Corporeal Beast will no longer award loot to Ironman players if it has attacked another player. Now, there's actually going to be a brazier that is lit, and if it is lit, that means you're not going to get the loot. Now, pretty much immediately after this change, there has been a fair bit of griefing for Ironman accounts. Essentially, somebody just went through all of the worlds, crashing all of the Ironman players, which is very unfortunate. On top of that, the Corporeal Beast will now reset if it is neither attacked or being attacked in the last 3 minutes. So just some changes to kind of prevent Ironman abusing some mechanics, but unfortunately, it does leave it open to griefing. Hopefully that doesn't happen in the future too much. Okay, so next up here we have a few changes to Castle Wars, pretty minor things. I know they are trying to prevent griefing here, although I'm not sure if the changes that happened today have anything to do with that. Just really some very minor tweaks here. Alright, so next up here we have the Clan Hall concept. Now the Clan Hall is something I didn't think I needed until it was proposed. It actually sounds so fun. Now when they add in the new clan system, they're planning on adding in a clan hall. Essentially, this would just be a instanced area for you to hang out in with your clan. Now I imagine they will have at least a bank there so you can just do some skilling with your friends and your clan. But who knows, maybe there'll be some other minor things there as well, and maybe you'll be able to upgrade your clan hall with money, put gear on the wall, I don't know, maybe you could unlock a few minor low-level training methods in there. It just sounds like a really fun time. Now in today's update, they are proposing 3 different designs for the clan hall. One is a crystalline Privdinas theme, one is a gothic Darkmire theme, and one is a medieval kind of fantasy style one, which I mean, I think you gotta go with number C. It doesn't really make sense for the other 2 to be the default ones, but definitely I would like to be able to unlock different reskins if possible. Now actually a kind of important thing at the bottom here, players can now opt out of dropping food and potions as a supply pile on death. Instead, you could opt to send them right to your gravestone, which I think is a really good toggle option, because definitely not for every circumstance do you want all of your supplies just to drop on the ground independent of your gravestone. That can just be kind of annoying in some circumstances. Now the value of the new Zealot items have also been increased so that they protect over some inferior items on death. And that is pretty much it for anything notable. Everything else is pretty minor quality of life changes, small tweaks, stuff like that. So that is it for this week's game update. Now finally here, I want to go over this week's Q&A, and like this month in general, it's a bit sparse on content, but there is a few really important things they discuss here regarding the equipment rebalancing changes and just a few other pieces of content. Now probably one of the most useful answers from the entire discussion was to a question that asked, when do you anticipate the equipment rebalancing changes to go live? Well, the answer is that the intention is not to have just one going live date. They are going to be splitting it out into sections. Now, in around 2 weeks, we should get an actual blog post regarding this with all of the specific information, but here is a loose timeline for the events. Now, the first round of changes are going to be to the less controversial items, for example, the Rune Armor change or the Dragon Warhammer change. Once those are into the game, they're going to move on to the Blowpipe changes, and they're going to include additional surveys and get more feedback regarding the Blowpipe change. After that, they're going to go ahead with the PvP Wilderness changes around April or May. That's stuff like the Din's Bulwark, Black D'hide, stuff like that. And lastly, they're going to do the tier rebalancing changes just before the combat achievements, which Modash mentioned recently is probably coming in the early summer, so June, July most likely. One final thing they mentioned is that they're actually going to be looking at some additional items after all of the equipment rebalancing changes are done that they haven't yet considered. No idea what those are going to be, but they could be a few other minor changes. Now coming up next here, we're going to have poll number 75, and that's actually going to poll questions from as far back as 2017, so I'm kind of curious to see what those are going to be. A few other questions here. Is there any possibility for some of the lackluster guilds to get an update? Yes, they agree that some of the guilds definitely need some updates, and there are a few designs that are going around the office for some of the guilds. Will we ever see a hardcore Ultimate Iron Man game mode? Probably not, because they're not sure if there's actually enough demand for it. On top of that, if they have an additional game mode that is not that popular, they would still have to take it into account for all future updates. Are we going to get a challenge mode for Temporos? They would love to do it, however they're going to wait for the actual just regular Temporos to release first. Anyway guys, that is going to be it for the weekly recap. Unfortunately, not too much else to talk about beyond yesterday's game update and the Q&A, but anyway, hopefully soon content will start rolling back into the game, because I think we're definitely due for some exciting updates. Now, before I go here, I want to give a massive thank you to all of my members over on YouTube. Just recently, 2 more Dragon tier members have joined. Collin Corley and Red Kamikaze. They're joining Timothy Chen, Capi, Guy Fox, Valhalla Lad, Brian Robinson, Brad Sings, Ocelot, and Kush Patel, all at the Dragon tier, making it actually the most popular tier. I never thought that would happen. You guys are so generous. Thank you again. Also a massive thank you to Birdbot, Base Titch, All Things Gaming, and of course all of the rest of my YouTube members. As always guys, if you're looking for a way to support the channel, becoming a YouTube member is an awesome way to do so. You can become immortalized in all of my future videos, get access to my video release schedule, and get a custom role in my Discord channel. Thanks again guys, and I'll see you next time.